Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie and welcome to my favorite books of 2024. Oh my god. I actually filmed this yesterday and I had it included in a video talking about other superlatives of the year, including my honorable mentions, but I had to split the video up because I just could not shut up about these books. I do want to mention my honorable mentions just so I can look at this in years to come. We had The Skull by Jon Klassen. This is a children's novel. Swift and Saddled and Little Blue Encyclopedia for Vivian. If you want to hear me yab about those books, it is in my last video. But just know I highly recommend these and I love them so much. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about my absolute favorites of the year. We're going in a rank here. And it's so interesting because the books I thought were going to be my honorable mentions were 4.5 stars. And then when I recalculated, I took this so fucking serious. I want you to know that. The last day, I spent hours literally trying to calculate like my ranking here. So I think, I keep changing my mind about it, but I'm pretty solid about this. But those 4.5s leaped up into the top 11. Coming in at number 11 is Pink Slime by Fernanda Trias, translated by Heather Cleary. This is a very slow-paced literary fiction and it's sort of horror-leaning, but nothing really horror-y is happening. Hoary. None of that's happening either. I think if I had to give a superlative to this, it would be the most haunting book of 2024 because it's literally haunted me. I think when I first read this, I gave it like a 4.25 and then like over time it just kept building and building, possessing me. The pink slime is in me and I can't stop thinking about this book. I think that's also a testament to the atmosphere. We have a main character. I don't think we ever learn her name, which is just a random cool thing I like. And in this story, there is this airborne virus that is infecting people and making them awful. And I know what you're thinking. This isn't a COVID book. She wrote this before COVID, which is always really interesting. I usually stray away from like virus books, but I read this anyway and I'm so happy I did because it's really not about the virus. It's not even about this pink slime, which is like a meat paste that people eat because like the animals and the crops are affected by this virus. We really don't even mention that much at all. Like it's completely in the background. I have theories and evidence as to why I think this is pink slime. Watch my vlog if you're interested. But this is more a story about the relationships of this character and her just deep depression of knowing that life is sucking and it's just gonna get worse. She's also sort of the caregiver for every relationship that she's in. She's a nanny to this young boy. His parents are really rich, but they sort of just dump him on her, even though where she's living is more dangerous because it's closer to the ocean. So there's like a lot more wind blowing this virus around. They just seem like shitty parents. But also this boy is dealing with this disease and it's a real disease. I've never heard of it, where someone has such insatiable hunger that they start eating things that are not food. They will eat the walls. They will eat like electrical cords. They just cannot stop. And it was so heartbreaking to read about a child dealing with this, and also because they're needing to ration their food. It was just really sad, that whole thing, but it was also, they were kind of cute, like this little duo. She also sort of looks after her mother, who she has an interesting relationship with, which, you know, I love a mommy issue story, but our main character kind of grew up with her nanny and liking her more than her mom. And she also still visits her ex-husband, who was a toxic piece of shit. She's still visiting him. She's like tethered to him, and the way she talks about their relationship, those things were so fascinating because the metaphors that she put in explaining it were so visual. Like there's this one, she was talking about how it is to be connected to this dipshit named Max. She said she's connected to him by an elastic band that shot you toward him with the same force you exerted trying to get away. And like my mind knows exactly what that means, but I love the visual of it. So yeah, it's deeply depressing because like it's kind of sad, like the things that are going on, these relationships aren't necessarily happy. I think I had a problem initially with this, that I didn't feel like our character, we really got really deep with her, or these relationships didn't get very deep. And I think that just goes to show like how depressed she was. Like she was in such a funk that she was just kind of numb. This was very well written, not much going on. If you don't like a slow-paced book, I would steer clear from this one. But like if you like woman eating, like the way this was written, there's no vampires in here, I'm sorry, like I wish, but the way this is written is kind of similar, and I love both of these. Number 10 is Mayfly by CJ Lead, and it's so funny because I genuinely think like this is better written and I think is more emotionally impactful, and like there's more, oh sorry, I got a hair in my lip gloss. There's more meat to this. There's more slime to this. This was a fucking blast to read. And my enjoyment level at the time is really going into the positions here. I want you to know that I took this seriously again. I had such a blast with this. This is a horror novel, clearly, and this is getting the award for the messiest romance of 2024. I had no idea that there was a romance in here. The way I was so delighted. I was so delighted. This is about a young woman, what's her name? Oh, Maeve, duh. She impersonates like Elsa at an amusement park by day, and she's this pretentious serial killer by night, and I love it. She has a best friend that she's very protective of. We learn a little bit about her and her relationship with her grandma, who was like a Hollywood actress. And then her best friend's brother comes to town. His name is Gideon. He awakens something dangerous within her, and the world she knows suddenly shifts beneath her feet. I was not expecting it. I think this completely went off the rails at the end. I'm not mad about it. I thought it was all in good fun. I am so glad I read this, and I do love this cover. It's unhinged, just like this book is. I think we're at number 9, and this is going to We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleworth. Marcus, I still don't know how to say your last name, I'm sorry. This is getting the award for the most interactive book of 2024, and that is a huge reason why I love this so much. This is a horror story. I originally thought this was a thriller because it was fucking thrilling, but it's about this couple who get this very pretty sort of mansion, and they're gonna flip it and sell it. One day, Eve, our main character, is home alone. Her wife is gone. There's a knock at the door, and she opens it up to see this very Brady Bunch looking family, and the dad is like,
"Oh, I used to live here when I was a kid. Can I show my kids around?"
Eve wants to say no because like, ew, but she, and I fear I would have done the same thing, invites him in. And guess what? This family does not fucking leave. And even if that was the entire plot, it would have been so interesting because that's a horror story. In the synopsis, it says they don't leave, so knowing that they weren't going to, every time they were just about to, I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? So I think that did sort of drive my intrigue as I was reading it. I don't think I can tell you much about the story, and it's so funny talking about this book after you kind of figure out what's going on, although like, do we really know what's going on? Let's see what I can tell you. Weird stuff starts happening around the house. People start going missing. Ghostly presence materializes in the basement. The attic scenes. This could also go for like the scariest book I read this year. I had to lift my feet off the floor when she was in the attic. Oh my god, there's something about an attic. Like a dark... No. And then Eve starts thinking that she's losing her mind. And that's all I can tell you, but this is a wild fucking ride. And I think something that also really drove me to binge this is that in between Eve's chapters, there's sort of like documents, mixed media, random articles concerning this house and other things. But at the end of each of the mixed media, there's Morse code. And you have to figure it out. And there's a message. It was so fun doing this. It wasn't even just Morse code. There were like some documents, clips of like websites, where like there were random capital letters, and I'm a Taylor Swift fan, so I started circling them. I knew something was up. And there's like messages there. There's also like this weird code that pops up. I haven't figured that one out. Now that I know what's happening, I'd be so interested in going back to the beginning and being like, oh, coming in at number 8 is 13 Ways to Kill Lulu Bell Rock. I've got a couple superlatives for this baby. We've got most surprising book of 2024, definitely a contender. Most futuristic book of 2024. We've got most action-packed book that I read in 2024. And it's so funny because I was not expecting this to be 5 stars. I think at first it was like a 4.75, but I was like, fuck it. This is so like original and fun. I'm gonna put it up to 5, and I'm so glad I did. But this has so many things in it that I usually would be like, pass, no, not for me. And yet I loved it. This is like one of the biggest exceptions to everything. I don't usually like action-packedness in a book. I don't usually like celebrities in a book, but this didn't really follow a celebrity. So let me tell you what it's about before I get ahead of myself. We have this actress, her name's Lulu Bell Rock. In this futuristic time, you can make clones of yourself. It's very expensive, so only rich people do it. And she has made 13 clones over the years, doing random shit for her that she just doesn't want to do. She has a clone that just like controls her social media, and she goes and she has to be photographed. She has to be photographed in different outfits every day, and that's literally all she does. She has a couple Lulu Bells that are trying out different like alternate lives. She has a Lulu Bell that literally marries her high school sweetheart and has children with him. Our main character is a clone of Lulu Bell, and her mission, she was created to kill all of the other clones. I can't even remember why, and at this point I don't care. So it's almost told in short stories. Each chapter is her going to one of the clones and killing them. And each chapter is so different because the characters are different, and our character, who I guess is named Lulu Bell, really grows. And that's one of my favorite things, as you're gonna see, is when something near human experiences human life and sort of grows and learns. And I think this also could get the award for most interesting romance, which is saying a lot because I just talked about a book about a girl who fucked a snake. LOL, I'm talking about Split or Swallowed by Lindsay Straub, which was my superlative winner for Smuttiest Book of the Year. It's in my last video if you want to know more. There are actually plot twists in here. Like there is a Lulu Bell, I'm not gonna give it away, but you don't realize, oh my god, and you're like, what? Also interesting that each chapter starts off with a tarot card and a little blurb about the tarot card. I want to reread it because I really don't understand the significance of this, but I thought it was a cool random thing they put in. I was just stunned by the emotional depth that this ended up having. I love short stories, so it also gave me that, and I feel like we really learned like who this clone was. This was so fun, so surprising. I don't think I've heard anyone else talk about it, so I implore you to read it. It's fun. Coming in at number 7 is Monstrillo by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I really don't know what to give this book as a superlative. I guess to like the most adorable piece of organ. Aww. Look at him. So this follows a family, and the family like really gets redefined by the end of the book. I find that really interesting. It's about a family who loses this young boy named Santiago. He dies, and the mother in her grief literally cracks into his chest and cuts out, very bloody, very gory, a piece of his lung, and she nurtures it. She puts it in like chicken soup, and it grows hungry. This is exactly how I pictured him in the beginning. That little monster they named Monstrillo, and this story is spanning the years of him growing up. We also go into different perspectives. We go to different countries, which is really fun. I was not expecting different perspectives in this book. We get 4. I'm actually so surprised this is only number 7. I thought it was going to be way at the top, and it's my fault because I put this off for so long and I knew it was going to be 5 stars, so then when it happened I was just like, yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Which is kind of sad that my expectation is manipulating me, but it's still one of the best books I've ever read. It is a perfect book. It's a perfect book for me. I think the thing I most got out of it, I thought again I was going to get the most out of learning about a creature who is like sort of forced into being human, and they have to experience human life and figure out their own identity, and I did get that. But the thing I was most affected by in this book was the discussions, or at least the writing of perception, because we did get a lot of perspectives, and in each of those perspectives everyone felt a little different, and it goes to show that you see yourself one way, someone else could see you some other way, and someone else could see you a completely different way. And I thought that was so well written, and this is a debut novel. Like, come on, this is amazing. Okay, we are switching to this microphone because my voice needs a little bit of a break, and there's lots of dogs and babies and people trampling about. Coming in at number 6 is The Push by Ashley Audrain, and this is so funny. Like, this is ahead of Monstrillo. That doesn't really make sense logically, but when I tell you I read this in one sitting, even though there wasn't that much going on, I was glued to my audiobook. I was so invested. I was emotionally affected by this. I was gagged. I think this gets the award for the most interesting family dynamic. Our main character, Blythe, has a little girl, and she does not like her. And so you're immediately like, what the fuck, lady? She is so, like, she thinks her daughter is evil. Her husband doesn't believe her. No one believes her. She sounds crazy. We think she sounds crazy. But at the same time, we're like, wait, is she right? Is this in her head? Like, and then she has a son, and she fucking loves him. She adores him. She still hates her fucking daughter. And even more, we're like, lady, but wait, I don't know. Then it says, when their whole lives are changed in an instant, the devastating fallout forces Blythe to face the truth. I kind of guessed what this was going to be. I feel like you could too, but I'm not going to say it, but that's all I can tell you. Besides the complete like, wait, what is happening here? The thing that I really loved was that in between some chapters, we got the generational tales of Blythe's ancestors, the women in her family. So when Blythe was little, her mom was a piece of fucking work. And then we go back to when her mom was little, her mom was a piece of work. Blythe's mom was like, I will never be like that, and so on and so on and so on. And it's why I've come up with a conspiracy theory about they're just all fucking cursed. But the curse is just the patriarchy, I think. I don't know. It was really sad, but really interesting. I kind of wish we leaned into that part a little more, but also those AirPods were glued inside of my ears. And I wish I could chat about like the spoilers with you. I should have done a spoiler video. This was really fun, and it's why it's got the 6th position here. Coming in at number 5 is a book I forgot that I loved so much until yesterday when I was calculating all this. A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Can you hear that? I originally gave this 4.5. I cannot tell you why. I looked up the recent reads video. I don't think I gave a particular reason why it was 4.5 and not 5, because I absolutely adored this book and I did not see it coming. It was genuinely a surprise. And I think that's because it's YA. Don't think YA is gonna really wow me at this point in my life, but this was so fun. If I had to give this a superlative, I guess best fantasy of 2024. Also best academic setting of 2024. Our main character's name is Elle, and she goes to this magical school school. The entire time you're there, I think it's like high school. It's British, so I don't really know what ages, but I'm guessing like 14 to 18. You go to this school and you don't leave it, and there are no adults. Like, the school itself grades the papers. They give you assignments just like it shows up on the board. There's no adults here. And the school itself is so fucking deadly. The magical world is very deadly because these demons are very attracted to magic, and they're attracted to young people magic. For some reason, it's like more potent, I guess. So in this school, there are demons fucking everywhere, hiding in the eggs at breakfast. They could just pop out at you, you die, and the classmates, they will just look over and kind of shrug. They're so used to it. And they also like to kill each other. It's very high stakes, and I adored it. I ate it up. In this situation, it's really smart for students to, especially at a younger age, join like packs of students, create alliances, because the demons are kind of scared of larger numbers. They really go after the lone wolves. And our bitch is a lone wolf, and she is indeed a bitch, and I love it. This character, she was not like the other girls, and I loved it. I gotta say. She was grumpy, she had a chip on her shoulder, she was emo as fuck, she was not nice. She didn't flip-flop with different people, she was not nice, and I love it. The whole school thinks she's like a dark wizard, which is frowned upon, mostly because they think they're gonna kill them, and so people just avoid her. And she's also, you know, a little thorny, so she sort of repels other people. This book follows her junior year as more demons come about. It's really slice of life, which is something I really like, and I think something that some people might not like. It's a little slow paced, and I loved it. We went to all of her classes multiple times. The classes themselves were so interesting. It wasn't like your basic, let's make a feather float kind of thing. There's a lot of emphasis on learning languages for like translation, for spell crafting. I thought that I'm so fascinated by language in a book. Another really cool class was like they made artifacts, like magical artifacts. I've never really read anything like that. Like the making of it, that's so cool. We see her try to open up, start to maybe make alliances and friends, and there is a potential love interest in here. They talk a lot about him on the back of the book. His name's Orion. He's this very powerful, very heroic dude, and she fucking hates his guts because he always takes the glory, but they sort of become friends in this. If I could compare their friendship, it would be like a shyer Gansey from the Raven Boys and a more emo bitchy Blue. I mean, that's good shit. I think the best thing about this though is the level of detail. So if you want a super detailed fantasy book that's kind of confusing at first and you just kind of roll with it, but it's also YA, so it's digestible and high stakes, very dangerous. Sorry, I didn't mean to move the microphone away. I got excited. So good. And we actually talk about classes and grades, and it's really fun, and I love it. Popping in because I forgot something yesterday. This also had really great conversations about privilege, because there's a big classist system within this entire world, but more microscopically within their school. So wealth goes into it, race goes into it. So there's some conversations about that. Of course, the lawn people. Also, I didn't vlog this. I put it in like a recent reads video, but if you do want to watch a vlog on it, my bestie Becca actually vlogged this, and it's the reason I picked this book up. She is my influencer. Check this video out from Becca, and I will put it in the description box below. Coming in at number 4, we have My Husband by Maud Ventura, translated by Emma Ramadan. This is that beautiful cover we talked about earlier. I think this could get the award for the most detailed characterization. Is that a thing? Also, the most paranoid character. Potentially the most unlikable character, although I read a lot of those. I love an unlikable character. This is the story about this woman who lives in France, and she's obsessed with her husband. She has 2 kids. She doesn't really care about them. She only had them to please him. And she weighs each of his actions, non-actions, and everything that she does. She lists it all out. She calculates it the way that I calculated this top 11. She keeps it in little books. She writes it down. And the things that come to her mind. At one point in the beginning of this story, her husband and her are at their friend's house, and they're playing this game where it's like, what fruit do I remind you of? And he says that, I think it was a clementine. He's like, you remind me of a clementine. She was so offended. I don't think she talked to him for like 2 days. At the end of the book, she was still bringing it up in like her narration to us. This was really, really detailed. It's kind of like Otessa Moshfegh level detail. It's almost irritating how much fucking detail is in here. I ate it up. There are a couple things in here I didn't see coming. Our girl is a little wild, but also that ending, like I saw it coming. So satisfying to me and so funny, but so like, ugh. I am just nosy, okay? And that's a part of the reason I love this book so much. Coming in at number 3, we're getting real close to the top here. We have Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. This gets the award for the most punchable man, and his name is Doug, and I wanted to slice his neck open by page 4. And a lot of my annotations in here, I don't want to share with you because they reveal a lot about me, but the ones I can tell you about is just me talking shit about this man named Doug. This is about a robot named Annie. Love her, love her, love her. Her owner is Doug, and she is there to please him in many ways. She also sometimes cleans for him. I don't think she can cook, but I'm sure they could program her to do that if he really wanted. This is just the story of this fucking asshole. He's racist, misogynistic piece of literal shit on the earth, and how he treats this robot like she's an object that he owns. It is so frustrating and heartbreaking. You love Annie. You love her. She learns more. She goes to this center for little upgrades. He sometimes wants her to lose 10 pounds. He wants to change her skin tone. He wants her to have bigger boobs. Like, this man is... And while she's there, she's questioning like the code. She's kind of being very friendly with like the technicians. And even they kind of treat her like an object, which I guess like, technically she is, but no, she's not. She learns more and more about herself. She starts reading on the internet. She starts learning things because she's fucking brilliant. And she starts to have real human emotion. She starts to think for herself. She starts being able to decide things for herself. It's weird because Doug initially wanted her to be more human-like, but when she starts acting like a human, like a real human woman who has the urge to say no or wants of her own, he's like, ew, what is happening? And he treats her like shit. This also could be the book that made me cry the hardest. It could also get the award for the book that hurt my feelings the most. I think part of the reason I love this is that I have been treated like shit. I know so many women who have. It seems like this character, Doug, is a caricature of like an emotionally abusive dipshit, but there are so many men treating women like this and so many women that are treated like this. And so I really felt seen in this. Remember things I was really trying to forget. This really hit me and punched me in the fucking gut. And so I do wonder if I hadn't had experiences where I have been treated like a fucking object. Sorry, I'm gonna cry again. Then maybe I wouldn't have loved this so much. Maybe it wouldn't be so close to me. I know a lot of people get really frustrated because this isn't a typical abusive plotline, but I think it goes to show that there are so many different ways this can happen, so many different ways this can go. There's so many ups and downs. It's not a clear linear path. It's very fucking complicated and horrible. It's horrible. I just thought it was so beautiful that like I know so many women, myself included, can relate to this robot. This book did go in a couple directions I wasn't expecting. Some of them I liked, some of them I was like, girl, just kill this fucking man. But again, I have real empathy for anyone going through shit like this, including Annie. But this absolutely skewered me. For that reason, it's on my number 3. Emotionally abused by this book. All right, folks, we have our runner-up here. I need to get a drink. Hold on. Are you ready for number 2? It's Open Throat by Henry Hoke. Oh my god. This is getting the award for most lovable mountain lion of 2024. Also, like the wittiest physical writing and maybe most interesting friendship of 2024. This is about a gay mountain lion who lives in Los Angeles. This animal can understand humans. He hears LA, like the letters LA. In his head, he's thinking it's LA, E-L-L-A-Y. That's so funny. What are you talking about? So it is kind of the same thing as you've been seeing throughout. This is like a sort of naive creature who is forced to live amongst humans and learn human ways and be affected by humans and life. I eat this shit up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So he's sort of on his own and it's fire season. There's lots of dangers. It's very survival-y. It's also fucking funny. It's also heartbreaking. He sees different things. He hears different things. What can I tell you? I don't know if I can tell you about the friendship. The ultimate question that this mountain lion is faced with is, do they want to eat a person or become one? This was so beautiful. So little. Read this so quickly. I got so much emotion out of this. And the writing was impeccable. That character was so impeccable. I like the plot of what was... This is wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful book. And I wish I could talk about it more, but it's kind of short. So I will definitely be rereading this for years to come. It's one of my all-time favorites now. I love it. And now to the award of the best book of 2024. This should come as no surprise. I've been yapping about this book since January, and that is Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino. Within the first 2 pages, I knew this was exactly my favorite type of writing style, which is going to like shoot anything up to a 5.5. And by the time I finished this, I had solidified it as my number 1 of 2024. And 11 months later, it's still there, baby. No one could knock her off. So yes, this gets the award for best book of 2024, but I think it also gets the award for the best fucking writing of 2024. This is lyrical. It's funny, but it's got a very sly wit so that you don't even realize... Oh, hold on. My camera's being weird. I don't even know where I was with this. This was fucking amazing. okay? This is about a little girl named Adina. When she's 4, she is activated and she realizes that she is an alien that is brought to Earth to like learn more about human life and bring information back to her mothership. That being said, this isn't really sci-fi-y. This is very literary fiction, but like with the little sci-fi twists, and that's my favorite kind of sci-fi. Adina does like communicate with these aliens at night. She actually goes to like the classroom. So as soon as she closes her eyes, she is transported to this like mind classroom. She processes what she learned each day. And at one point she's like, I go to school in the day, I go to the classroom at night. I'm kind of tired. Poor Adina. She also communicates back to these aliens through a fax machine. She'll update them, be like,
I saw a bunny today.
and they will literally answer her back and be like, cool. Oh, I love it. So this is the coming of age. We get her from 4, a little bit before 4. Actually, we get her coming out of her mother's birth canal. So I forgot about that. I think I blacked that out. Up until she's into her adulthood. And so that is the plot. It is her life. And so I do see that people could find this boring because it's super slow paced. It's just an account of a person's life. But there's so much gold in here. Like I said, it's very witty. It's got that sly wit that you don't even realize it's funny until like a couple sentences later. She has a single mom who's obsessed with men, and it's kind of sad to see, but you see their relationship change as time goes on. She gets a best friend, and LOL, the way this friend is described when she's introduced, it's like just the perfect writing. Listen to this. This is about her best friend to be. She is introduced as Antoinette Maria and sits silently at the front of the class under the weight of her giant name. Like, that's the kind of writing I love. It kind of gives like Amelie vibes, like the humor that narrator had. It's impossible to be unhappy on a swing, even at 4. Adina knows this, but this is like super fucking wholesome, but also it gets pretty heartbreaking because it's just about life. Everything's really funny when you're a kid, and when you see this kid who doesn't know shit or a baby alien who doesn't know shit, it's kind of funny. And then they start experiencing like actual hardships, and you're like, fuck, and there's nothing you can do because that's just part of life. Is this microphone on? Oh my god, I just got so scared. And so this is also a book that could qualify for made me cry the hardest, but it wasn't until after the book that I really sobbed, and it really snuck up on me because it's not like Annie Bot where like that made me remember things I wish I could forget. This book made me cry because life, it's so wonderful, it's so horrible, it's filled with so much pain, so much joy, and like this is just life. This is and I know that sounds so boring. Like, come on, Ellie, what's actually happening in this book? It's just a life with weird shit going on in the background. This is the perfect mix of happy, sad, but not in a sad way that's like tragic. It's sad in the tragedy of life, I suppose, but it's just like, oh wow, we're all just, you know, get handed whatever we get and we gotta deal with it. I cannot wait to reread this. I always say that about my favorites, like Luster, like Mother Thing, like Our Wives Under the Sea. I think 2025 is gonna be my year of rereading my all-time favorites because like this is so embedded in my DNA, but I need to like now tattoo it where it's embedded. Again, I feel like this sounds like it could be boring to some of you, and it possibly would be boring to some of you. This is the most beautiful, beautiful, happy, sad, witty story I've ever read in a long time. I'm pretty sure ever, but like just in case, I want to say in a long time. And I wish I had more things to tell you about it. I'm just gonna shut up, okay? You've heard it. You need to read this. I mean, you need to try. You might not like it, but that's a part of life. And Adina would understand that. All right, we did it. And this was the most fun I've had since I've been doing these superlative or my favorites videos. I've been so excited to talk to you about all of these books in bulk, which is weird because usually this gives me the same sort of like icky feeling I get when I do a wrap up. It's very overwhelming, even more so because some of these books I read 11 months ago. But this was so fun because this was such a good reading year. I think other times it's not as fun as well because I don't have definitive like favorites. I don't have definitive least favorites. I sometimes have trouble having strong opinions. This year I had some strong opinions. I did read a lot of mid books this year, I will say that, but I had a lot of standouts, and even if they were mid, they really stuck out in some other ways. So yeah, this was a wonderful reading year for me, even though I read the least amount of books this year that I have since I started my booktube channel. I think I've read 78 books so far. Might read a couple more, but by the I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, this gets me so excited for 2025. Please let me know. Like, I know people say this all the time. I want to know your opinion of these books, whether you agree with me or not. Sometimes it's more fun if you don't agree. So please let me know your favorites of this year, even if they're not on my list. Or, oh my God, if you want to be a doll and based on my favorites list, give me a recommendation. I would be eternally grateful. That was so cringe. I think it's time to go. I will see you all later. Also, side note, I think I do have videos, either vlogs, wrap-ups, ups or both on every single book we touched on today. So check out my channel, babe. I'll see you later. Goodbye.